WeenCast, a Ween podcast with Rory Gibbons and Shane Prutzky.
This is WeenCast podcast, and this is Rory. Welcome back, listeners. This is part 2 of our podcast for the April 20th, 2000 show at Rutgers University, Skelly Field. Gina on the megaphone is always classic.
Totally.
You know, again, it's like, man, we got it all tonight.
They sure do.
A little bit of everything. Somehow they managed to get a little bit of everything in on the set list. You know, and speaking of that, Mr. Richard Smoker, Golden Country Greats, you know, is the next one.
Becomes kind of a standard, but you know, everyone loves Mr. Richard Smoker.
Yeah, and then of course, you know, and then Puerto Rican Power, which is kind of you know, not that common of a song, but that it's sort of I seem to remember that being like a time when it was kind of played. Is my memory serving me correctly? That like you don't really hear him play that too much anymore, or later on, but I think they used to play it back then. Or
I mean, that was sort of like that was a big era for Puerto Rican Power, I would say. That sounds about right. I think that's definitely a tune that sort of like lost its way there for a little while. But yeah, at the time it was, I don't want to say common, but we had definitely heard that a few times before. But yeah, always great. Always a good rockin' tune and a fun one. There is a cool quote after Mr. Richard Smoker where someone must have yelled for Polo Asada, and Diener must have heard it because you hear him say, "Polo Asada, yeah, like we're just going to start playing that tonight."
Come on, Puerto Rican Power! We did it!
Polo Asada, we're going to start playing it tonight.
I love it when he fucks with people like that, you know. And then you got Waving My Dick in the Wind, another Mollusk tune, and then fucking Fat Lenny. You know, it's there again, you know, it's old school, you know, brownness, and yeah, man, the fucking sweet fucking tune with a badass intro. Should we play a little clip of that?
Sure.
Something called Fat Lenny here at Rutgers Stadium tonight. Please. Yes. Time to get greasy there now.
See myself reflected back on myself, and it's gonna lick the shit right off the windowsill. Now it's gonna lick my head off.
He says at the beginning, Jeaner's like, time to get greasy.
Yeah. Time to get greasy. And they certainly do. And then there's I like how after Fat Lenny, you hear Jeaner kind of gives a shout out to Kirk, who's the sound guy. He's just like, Kirk, how you doing back there, man?
Kirk, how you doing back there, man? All right.
Like,
Is
I
that
don't know.
because it was like a breezy, windy, cold, chilly evening?
Yeah, right. He's probably freezing his fucking nuts off like you are on stage, man. You know.
Yeah, dude.
But I don't know. Maybe there was a sound snafu or something that he's trying to give him a heads up. Like that's his signal for, hey, I can't hear you or so. I can't hear anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then after Fat Lenny, back to another new song for the time, which is Pandy Fackler. We had heard that a couple of times.
A chance for Glenn to shine, and this becomes a staple of sort of the Glenn canon that you see at the shows. But this is back when it was like still laying it out, and so Glenn has a huge baller solo in this. They really just sets the night on fire, like Glenn style.
Yeah, man.
So here's a little bit of that. It's great. It's always, and then, anytime you hear that song, when I hear it, I am always anticipating, waiting. Oh, Glenn's gonna get to lay down, gonna get to lay down a jam, like.
Yeah, like what's
so
Glenn gonna do on Pandy Fackler tonight,
Yeah, totally. Again, another one that ends up becoming like a staple, in the years to come. And I think that's, and speaking of this show as a seminal moment for us in our, sort of fandom, like a high watermark kind of show. It really is a show that sort of established, songs as part of the routine and this is what we do when we're doing it live. This show really sort of summed up a lot and put it all together, and so it just seems like going back and listening to this show again, it's kind of man, there were so many songs that was they were still pretty new then, and they became foundational to Ween moving forward.
Hell yeah, man. Okay, so after Pandy Fackler, we got another standout of this show. Not only is every fucking tune on this rockin', and they're on top of their game and everything like this, we get another song that really was not I know we had never heard it before. I don't think it was really ever like fleshed out live until, like this night or maybe like once or twice before this. Again, I haven't checked Brown Bass, but
no, dude, you're right on. This was I think the fourth time it was ever played live.
Yeah, so like this is, that's like into the realm of they're still like fleshing the shit out. You know what I mean? As to like making it a full on live song with the whole band. It's fucking Spring Theme. And it's another one of those tunes for this show that's like, 4/20/2000, you got Voodoo Lady with Kiss and then, Spring Theme. It's another one that like jumps out as like, oh shit. They don't say anything, it's not introduced. But even like the fucking intro, like they just start into the intro and it's just fucking like, oh shit, now what is that?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
And I remember like being at the show and being like, oh shit, what is this? What is this? And the buddies from State College, I think, being with, and it's like, oh, what's this song? And it's like, you'll see,
Yeah.
No, and this was only like the fourth time ever played live, and only 64 times total. So definitely not a common song at all. This is like the Brown part of the show, really, like Spring Theme, because then Sorry Charlie comes in, and Laura, are all tunes that are very uncommon. Sorry Charlie 79 times, Laura 32 times, and all of them played only a handful of times before this show. You know, so like, just like, really going and digging deep, and so I definitely look at Spring Theme as one of the songs on this show that it's like, if you, one of those moments, one of those like, those high point moments of this show is definitely Spring Theme.
Absolutely. So should we play a little clip of that?
Yeah, let me play a little bit of this. Yeah, dude, on a side note, I swear Dave looks like Beetlejuice during that song. Did he like change outfits, or am I just like, was that like something I imagined?
I'll have to go back and watch the video of it, but I'll believe you. You know what I mean? Like I know this is just from my memory of it, but without even like going back and playing any of the video. I remember that this is before Dave had sort of gone with like the short hair. Like he still had like the long hair, and was sort of like the closest thing I can think of is the that weird like assistant guy from Rocky Horror Picture Show that has just like the long like scraggly hair that just runs around and chases after Tim Curry the whole time. That's basically, that was like Dave at that time. No offense to Dave. I'm not trying to say anything, negative or anything like that. But,
just saying it like it is.
Yeah, right. And, we've as we get older, we get to that point where it's like, all right, maybe the long hair isn't really working anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it happened to most of us at some point or another in our lives. You know what I mean? I'm past that point. It's, and I think Dave might have been getting to that, like, okay, dude, it's time to maybe just, give up on the whole, like, okay, I'm a rocker, I've got, hair down to my shoulders kind of thing, But I love you, Dave. I'm not trying to, But, yes, I can believe that he would look like Beetlejuice. Yes.
And maybe some of it was the lighting, I don't know. But, Sorry Charlie is awesome. This is another one of those moments that's like, oh, it's so cool that they do Sorry Charlie. And it opens up Sorry Charlie with like, sitting in the morning sun.
We know this. just didn't work out the way you had planned it.
Yeah. So
that like classic rock tune. So it's like a totally, like unique moment to tease the cover and then do something as sort of off the grid as Sorry Charlie, which is also one of my favorite Ween songs. I mean, and remember going back to like, one of the first albums I ever listened to.
yeah.
And Sorry Charlie being like one of those early songs, it was like, oh, this song's so awesome.
Yeah, that's a good example of sort of like the teenage, college age, angst and like depression. You should be out partying with your friends, but instead you're at home and you're depressed. And I remember playing that track a lot. Just like being at home and how come I'm not out, partying with everybody else, like that kind of...
I'm sorry, dude. I didn't know you were so, such a sad youngster. I wish I was there for you more.
No. It's just kind of one of those things that reminds me of that's kind of how, that I related to that song in like my like solo moments of just like listening to the pod and by myself and kind of like, yeah, I can hear where he's coming from with that tune. That's kind of how what I got out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's another cool little snippet that happens in between those two songs, in between Spring Theme and Sorry Charlie. You might not be able to hear it on the YouTube audio and the YouTube video, but on the MP3s that I have this show on my iPod from an old bootleg, and I swear to you, and Rory, you can make this claim if you want to, but you can hear somebody yell clear as day, "Money for nothing and your chicks for free."
Money for nothing and the chicks for free.
That was totally me, dude. Did you not know that until I told you that, like when we were preparing for this podcast?
If you're gonna lay claim to that one, hey man,
No, dude, it's totally me. I guess I happen to be sitting close to one of the people recording the show, or standing close.
I love it.
I have I'm infamous, and I'm saying this tongue in cheek because I don't think anyone knows about this except for me and you. But I'm infamous for yelling out, like, sort of, for them to play just, like, random and often ridiculous, like, classic rock songs.
Yeah, right.
So, and so I just figure, like, oh, everyone else is yelling for, like, Big Jim and like, Buenos Stars Amigo and
I will give
and whatever, and it's like, I'm gonna yell out Money for nothing,
I will give you on one of the Aaron solo shows from, I don't know what year it was, 2011 or so. I'll have to go back and find it. I know Aaron comes out. This is at like World Cafe Live in Philadelphia. Aaron comes out and you just hear I know it's you because I remember like standing right next to you when you did it, just yell, "Hell's bells!" And it just... Again, it's just clear as day, and it actually is like right before he's about to like say anything. So everyone is like quiet, and you're just like, "Hell's bells," and people actually laugh. People are actually like laughing at you because they can hear you like clear as like everyone like shuts up waiting for him to like start, and then you hear you yell. So I know that that's you. So I'll give you credit for that one. But if you want to claim Money for nothing, I'll give it to you.
No, that's I'm sorry, but no, that's my infamy is sort of yelling, and again, Hell's Bells. That's the same kind of deal.
I love it.
And why not? That would be pretty memorable. But I don't want to talk about other shows besides this one.
I'm sorry. It just
But
I
yeah,
had
so
to, I had to bring
anyway,
it
so
up.
that was a thing I sort of got into, was yelling for just random classic rock songs that
Right.
they probably would have no chance of ever playing.
Hey, you never know until you ask. You don't know.
But
So it's worth a shot. But then after those two, Spring Theme and Sorry Charlie, this is one that like even as many times as like I had heard the pod, I think I still that night was kind of like, what the fuck is this? And it was Laura.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. Like I don't think that one, it was like, well, what is this?
Yeah. Cool tune. There you're sort of getting into like, I'm not going to say it's like one of my favorite songs or anything like that. But certainly rare. And I mean, definitely had never heard that before live.
Yeah, no, it's super rare. Laura, 32 times total. That was the 6th time ever. None of these were the first time they ever played anything.
That really goes
I don't
back
think.
to what I was saying about, this is a college and they know it's a college crowd and can push the envelope. Something like that, is like a fucking, a weird tune from the pod, but it's cool. I mean, but it's definitely fucking weird,
No, and it's awesome because there's actually Jeaner does some jamming on the guitar, which, it doesn't, he does the rhythm guitar for a few songs here and there, but he doesn't usually do like any jamming.
Right.
And or very little. I'm not trying to undersell him, but that's Diener's territory. But so there's a nice little clip here of Jeaner. And he's swaying around, and I think I already said it, but he's swaying around like he's like with these sunglasses on at night, like he's like a blind guy up there. like that he can't find his way, but he's jamming out. He's just laying out the licks, and another case of we got it all tonight. Because it's not every show that Jeaner like has his own like solo or his own jam in a song.
That's very true. Another weird little thing that you can hear from the crowd. Again, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it on the YouTube video or not, and I'll try and isolate the video or the audio. Is I swear there's some dude yelling Nintendo, just like
I couldn't make it out either. That's all I could get out of it was Nintendo.
Maybe the MP3s that I have were like before they were like all cleaned up or something. Because I know the YouTube video that we've been kind of going back to watch this show and listen to it again is like a real nicely done version of the show. And maybe they like sort of cleaned up some of like the crowd noise and stuff. But on the MP3s I have, you can hear pretty clear. There's a dude who's just like, Nintendo sucks, Ween rules. you talking about, dude? You know, like, just a weird, I swear he's going, Nintendo! Nintendo! It's like, what? Why are you yelling Nintendo? You know? Just a fucking weird little thing. I don't know.
I mean, it's a you know, I don't know if I agree, but it's a relevant point. I mean, I don't know if I would, you know, it's like, I think you can live in a world where you have Nintendo and Ween.
Yeah, right.
So it's not an either-or proposition to me.
Yeah, I don't know if he's trying to say get out of your dorm room and come out and listen to the show or what, you know, but anyway, just a weird little thing on the bootleg. And then you got Ice Castles, which is also new for White Pepper. You know, cool little spacey jam if you hadn't heard it up till this point, which a lot of people probably hadn't. And then there's a cool quote that Jeter throws in after Ice Castles where he's just like, now the shit's getting fucked up.
Now the shit's getting fucked up.
You know, it's like, pretty sure the shit was fucked up before that, but he's definitely right. Golden Eel, which we know this from the Mollusk, but Jeter's fucking shredding it up on Golden Eel. We should play a little snippet of that.
It's like every song, dude. It's just, and this is almost 2 hours into the show at this point. This is about the show comes in at over 2.5 hours, so this is like almost 2 hours into it, and they're shredding this stuff like they were, you know, at the beginning of the show. And it's also, this is kind of this like extended sort of main set like finale.
Yeah.
Right? Because you got going from Spring Theme all the way down to, you know, now we're at, you know, Sorry Charlie, Laura, Ice Castles, Golden Eel. And then coming up, they tease Mononucleosis, which is sick enough just teasing it.
Yeah.
But Tender Situation and Reggae Junkie Jew, that's the main set. So you think about that's like, what, about 8 songs in a row, I think, where it's like this extended finale for the main set. That's really mind-blowing, the ground that they cover and the you know, the variety of songs and the jams and how unusual. I mean, there's a whole bunch of those songs that I just mentioned. It's like they're all pretty uncommon, pretty rare tunes to hear.
Absolutely.
And they're just playing them one after the other. They're just like playing them one after the other. It's like when you're at the 4th of July fireworks, you know, and it's like the finale, and they just start shooting off the fireworks left and right.
Yeah.
And you know, and it just like keeps going and going and going, and then you're like, wow, this shit's real now.
Yeah.
And what's even crazier about this is just the main set finale. We haven't even gotten to talking about the encore, which is phenomenal. So that we'll get there. But yeah, man, Golden Eel and teasing Mononucleosis.
Yeah, and there again, it's like if you're not paying attention, you know, you could totally miss that because it's really just him doing one like line of it, and you know, a very obscure tune. You know, that's deep within the pod, also. You know, so you really have to be paying attention to pick up on that.
When you came into the pod, you told me that something was wrong. You like that?
Yeah.
And then after the mono tease, Tender Situation. You know, again,
another one of my like all-time favorite Ween songs.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And you know, not very common, you know? Not very common. You know, a little bit more than some of the other ones we're talking about tonight, but still pretty fucking rare.
Yeah, dude. Tender Situation.
Also has a nice jam in it. You would play a little clip of that.
Well, I think I can oblige. Guitar riff that's just a great guitar riff,
Absolutely.
It's just phenomenal, and it's just sort of repeat until infinity.
Another one of those sort of like beautiful older songs that never really got. I mean, obviously, if you're a big Ween fan, you're gonna be down with that one, but never really got into like the realm of popularity of some of the other ones, but deserves every bit of it.
Yeah, Tender Situation is one of those ones that I think really feeds into like the Ween sort of legendarium, the Ween mythology, and the song's almost poetry.
Yeah.
And the way the lyrics are laid out, and it's almost like this like, stream of consciousness thing going on. But which is really emblematic of, there's kind of a whole series of early Ween songs that are like sort of fit in that category, that are with these like, sort of gonzo poet songs, that's awesome, and that's all, also really rare. And then of course the finale of the main set, Reggae Junkie Jew, which is, first off, not very common. It's, I think of that as one of like the big Ween jams, but it kind of isn't, like, as far as like, as far as being, a staple of almost every show. I think about 100 times it's been played all time. So, it's like it's not nearly as common as something like Voodoo Lady, for example.
Absolutely. I mean, now we had heard this once before because we saw them play it on, the Fall '99 tour.
The Tralfamador.
Yeah, at the Trout. But still,
in Buffalo, New York. Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to the Trout. But there's absolutely no guarantee that, you're ever going to hear it again, really. I mean, and it's even after this sort of like era, dropped off the map for a long time, and was a pretty rare tune. But this is just a great rendition of it. Absolutely fucking amazing. With I think Diener is doing the lead vocal, and Jeaner is on the megaphone, basically just doing like a backup. Just a fucking great jam. We should play a little clip of that for sure.
Yeah. dude. Reggae Junkie Jew is a fantastic jam. It's a song that to me really comes alive at a live show, and it's kind of underwhelming on the album, if I'm being honest.
Well, right.
But yet live it becomes like this otherworldly experience.
I absolutely love the when you're listening to this version of it, and I don't know how to explain it exactly, other than they must have taken like them doing the Reggae Junkie Jew, fuck you, and just kept playing that little piece over and over, and then like distorting it. So it just starts getting to be like noise, like, and it's just, it sounds so cool. And it's like, I don't know how, they did that or how that works, but it's fucking cool as hell. And, maybe we could hear a little piece of that.
Incredible song.
Absolutely.
But yeah, dude, and so that's the so I believe they walk off stage for a minute, and they there's a trailer that they get to use as like a backstage area. like a tractor trailer. I don't know. I wonder if did it have like a sofa in it or something. But I think I don't think there was ever any doubt like, oh, they're coming back or not.
Right.
And this is seems to harken back to an era when encores were really something else, almost like little shows unto themselves.
Yeah, it's not just like one song.
Yeah, no, this is a 4-song encore that includes "I Can't Put My Finger on It," which they jam out, Buckingham Green, "Birthday Boy," which is a rare tune. And then they lay it all out, bare with "Poop Ship Destroyer,"
right?
Which is also a pretty uncommon live song as well. This show is full of jam songs, Spring Theme, Reggae Junkie Jew, Poop Ship Destroyer, that are not common.
Absolutely.
Performances, but yeah. So the encore starts with "I Can't Put My Finger on It," and they do the whole intro. At one point, they're both sitting on the stage, and they do the whole chant intro. Here's a little piece of that. You know, at this point in the show, it's almost like you're just kind of thinking, like, man, this can't get any browner. You know, like, what else could they possibly do? You know, and then they do, you know, then you get, I can't put my finger on it, with the full intro. And then they lay out Buckingham Green, which by this time is already becoming it's already really a staple at this point.
Right.
But and what's interesting about that is actually, you know, to save it for the encore, you know, it's like for a song that's already become a staple, you know, that usually it falls somewhere in the middle of the main set, but there's a really hardcore jam in that. You want to play a little bit of that?
Sure, man.
I love how quiet it is, and then how it just like builds up to that huge moment.
Absolutely.
You know, and so that what's great about that is that ends up being fantastic as part of the encore, because it just like everything comes crashing up, as it were, at the end of that song.
Right.
Like it's a huge crescendo. Which of course is followed up then by Birthday Boy, which is like another one of those sort of old school, like, you know, favorite Ween songs, like growing up, you know, loving Birthday Boy. You know, I remember like on the album, like listening to it, like, you know, trying to listen to the, you know, getting the phone number of the gas station or whatever. That's like from the message in the background or something. You know, it's like this song, it's like, you know, to have it come alive, you know, on stage. It's awesome.
That's great. And if you're watching the video on YouTube, it's kind of funny because Diener takes off his guitar, and Diener just starts off Birthday Boy, and Diener has to put his guitar back on. So I don't know if he like thought, oh, okay, that's it, it's over, and Diener wants to keep playing. You know what I mean? Like, if that's really what happened there, that's fucking awesome.
Well, and you know, and that's possible because you've already had a jam, Can't Put My Finger on It, and then a huge Buckingham Green laid out. You know, that would be an acceptable encore.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, but then it's like take it one step further. You rock out Birthday Boy, which is a mellow, quiet tune. But yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah.
So,
and then, you know, what else can you say besides it's time for the fucking poop ship to sail, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely had never seen this before. There's a amazing quote where Diener is talking and he's just like, okay, like, this is it. You know, there's one song left to do and everyone knows what it is, or, you know, I'm paraphrasing, but basically he's just like, you know what that song is called? It's called Poop Ship Destroyer. All right. And it's like, what?
And you know what that song is called? It's called Poop Ship Destroyer. All right! Happy Earth Day!
Like, what the fuck? Like, never would have saw that coming. Never.
Yeah.
Never.
What is going on? And and it's ridiculous too because it's Earth Day, so Diener's up there like trying to riff, and so we could play a little bit of that. But he's trying to riff about loving the Earth and
well, I think
how the Earth is a ship
Yeah, well, I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to get them to like start his like really distorted like vocals. Like I want to get the vocals like really nice and like distorted. So he just starts talking as though to like, okay, I'm just gonna test out like the distortion, and then like you just hear like the lines that he's saying when he's just like, when I'm on the earth, I love the earth, and it just keeps getting like more and more like, you know. So let's hear a little clip of that.
And when I'm on the earth, I love the earth. Kirk, you know what I'm saying, man? When the earth is earthbound, then people stand on the earth. And then they take something from their house to another place on the earth. And they put it in that place in the earth. And then they close the door. And then they come back to the place that they started on the earth. And then they climb aboard the poop ship destroyer. On the earth. They erect the building on the earth.
Yeah, I mean, he's a poet, you know. The earth is the earth, man.
When the earth is earthbound.
Yeah, then you know it's getting down to some poop shit.
So they just fucking, break out the poop ship. And, there again, it's like, I know we hadn't seen this before, and I'm not sure if I ever saw it since.
Yeah, I'd have to really go back and look at every single set list.
Nothing is jumping out in my mind that I've seen them do that again after that. So it's like another one that's just kind of like, 420 is like, Voodoo Lady with Kiss, Spring Theme, Reggae Junkie Jew, Poop Ship. It's like, come on, man. I mean, it just keeps going, Yeah,
it keeps going, and there's solid representation across the board from the different albums and everything. And dude, I mean, what else can you say? So you finish up with Poop Ship Destroyer,
right?
And the show clocks in at over 2.5 hours long. So it's just phenomenal, and I think my memory of shows back then is that they tended to be a little bit longer than they are now.
Yes.
I don't. There's not too many out there that I've been to that are like actually like 3.5 hours long. 2.5 hours is a pretty long show. So that's fantastic. And you look at the set list and the length of the set list, and every song is like kind of longer than normal maybe because they kind of jam every song. They like sort of every solo, every bridge, and every song is kind of a little bit more pimped out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, just a fucking amazing show. I mean, we could probably talk about it all night. We did, since we've been sort of boasting this up for a long time, I had sent out some stuff over the last like 6 months, and sort of getting ready to do this episode and talk about this show, and just saying if there's anyone out there who has any stories that they want to tell or anything that they want to say about this show, we're going to be talking about it, and we want to get everyone's opinions and stuff. So we got a few things. There was a lot of people that responded to me that basically just kind of didn't have a story per se, but were just kind of like, I was there, it was great, or it was amazing, and just kind of, yeah, awesome show. Spring theme was amazing, because that was a standout.
Which is still great. Like, by the way, thank you everyone who responded and
totally
told us about their experience.
But I have a couple of things here. I'm just gonna read, not word for word, but just a couple of things. So there's I'm not gonna use anybody's last name unless they said it's okay, but there's a dude who sent me a little story by the name of Jason. So I'm just gonna kind of read his story here. It was a magic night. I went by myself, and it took a while to find out where the show was taking place. I arrived just after Juliana Hatfield had finished up. I moved through the crowd and got close up to the stage on the Diener side. I had been tasked with writing down a set list for my friend that couldn't attend. That's awesome. Made some new friends during the show and noticed Pat Frey was running around and taking pictures. I think it was my third or fourth time seeing Ween. It sure set the bar high for many of the Ween shows I have seen since. Which is very true, and that's one of the things we were talking about. It's a high water mark. It's definitely it sets the bar very high.
Yeah, invariably shows after this for quite a long time, and even still today, kind of get compared to this show.
Absolutely. There was a girl by the name of Estelle who sent me a little piece of writing here. No real story. Drove to Rutgers, geeked out at Ween, and went home. The poop ship was epic, with us seeing the stage sway like a ship. Walking up to the show was kind of surreal. Our favorite band playing in a field. It seemed a bunch of people didn't know what they were getting into. I love that. Very true. And she sent me something. I had never seen this up until she sent me a picture of a flyer. I don't think any of us had ever actually gotten one of these. I had never seen this in all the year, 19 years it is now. I never saw this. I'll make sure to post this on Facebook and on Twitter and everything. So there's a cool picture of a flyer that she sent me, and I'll just kind of read off what it says. The top, it says First Annual Cook College. So it doesn't actually mention anything about Rutgers. It just says First Annual Cook College Earth Day Festival. April 20th, 2000, 4 p.m. on Skelly Field. And then it has the actual, Ween logo with the Boognish. Juliana Hatfield is right underneath that. And then there's a couple of the smaller bands, which I did, in preparation for the podcast, I did just sort of look each one of these names up on Wikipedia and see if they came up with anything. There was nothing for any of them. So they must have just been, local bands, but if anybody knows was in any of these bands or knows any of these bands, I'd love to hear something. Voodoo Vuba, Faux Monks, Life Goes On, and Possible Hearsay. So those were supposedly the bands that went on even before Juliana Hatfield for that festival. So just really fucking cool. I had never seen that. It's just a picture of the flyer. So thank you so much for sending that to me. It really made my day when she had sent me that.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. It was a whole day of music, I guess. We just got there kind of a little bit before the Ween.
Yeah, we didn't even get to see Juliana Hatfield, which I guess in retrospect is kind of a bummer. But we didn't even know. I don't even think we realized it was going to be a whole day thing. But anyway,
I think she was still playing when we got there, but we kind of reconnoitered right off from near the stage for a little bit to kind of get our wits together and stretch our legs. And
in retrospect,
I want to say we had a frisbee. I want to say there was a frisbee involved.
Yeah, we had mentioned that. We had mentioned that too. I guess in retrospect, I guess I would say not only do I wish I would have been able to see Juliana Hatfield, but also would have done a little bit more digging into who she was and known a little bit more about her, and some of the songs and stuff. But it's just a different era. You know what I mean? So
hey man, no regrets.
Yeah, no regret. Okay, you're right. No regrets. No regrets. So there was another dude by the name of Pete who sent me a little story here. 4 of us drove to the show, and we met a little hippie girl at the gas station. She gave us directions to where the practice field was and said, find her at the show, and we could sleep at her place. So we went and saw my most favorite show ever. Found the little hippie girl afterwards, and she took us to this rager of a party. Nothing fancy there, just fun, but then we went back to her place and passed out. I woke up the next morning as she was leaving. I asked if she wanted us to leave, and she said, no, and there's breakfast made for you guys. Just lock up if you leave before I get home. So we did just that. I wish I remembered her name. She was so nice. I've seen Ween 20 times or more, not as much as some have, but I've been disappointed, and 420 is my most favorite show. The Laura was fantastic, and I had to school some kid on Nan. He was convinced it was off the new album because he knew every Ween song but had no clue about the oneness. That's awesome. The energy, not to mention the set list, was absolutely amazing. It was outdoors, free, cram-packed, but open at the same time. And the boys were on point that night. First 420 of the new millennium. That's all I know to say. If you weren't there, Boognish Monster, Ween Channel, has the entire show on audio, and I believe video also. Happy Weening. So, great little story.
That's a fantastic, that was well put.
Absolutely.
Because it was, like, packed, but yet open. Like, it was this... I don't remember exactly how many people were there, but it felt like there was a lot of people, and we were kind of packed in because it was chilly, but something about it didn't feel like crowded. So that's a really, really spot on comment.
Yeah, totally.
And another person saying, just how sort of the high watermark that this show represents.
Absolutely. So I got a little message from Fred Moore. If you don't know Fred, he's one of the guys that we probably all need to thank at some point or another because he's one of like the serious tapers, especially at this time. I know that you would see him at the majority of the shows taping. So like the MP3s that I have, like the bootleg that I have the CDs of was probably his tape, so he's one of these guys, thank you, Fred, for, not just taping this show, but taping, throughout the years. And, it's definitely a thankless sort of chore. We've mentioned that in some of our other podcasts. So Fred's one of the guys that everyone should say thank you to. So he was there and he sent me a little letter here. I remember when this show was announced. It was a free show, and we were all really psyched. It was a beautiful spring night. The scene was awesome, the sound was huge, and the band was on fire. I remember they played Reggae Junkie Jew that just left us all with our jaws on the floor. I took several of my friends to the show, and for a lot of them, it was their first Ween show. They were all blown away and are still fans today. Truly the good old days. Yet, it seems like yesterday, and my recording still sounds fantastic. Which... absolutely. The bootlegs of this show are fucking incredible. For being an outdoor show.
Another well put letter.
Yeah, man. So the bootlegs that are floating around out there of this show, we probably have Fred to thank for. We definitely have him to thank for one of them. I'm not sure if it's, like I said, the one that I have or what, but so thank you so much, Fred. Here's a quick little snippet from a dude that sent me a message by the name of Jim. He says, I can't believe I'm admitting this, but I got lost on the Rutgers campus looking for this show and ended up at the field house where there was a cheerleading competition, and I missed the whole show.
Bummer, man. Sorry.
Bummer, dude. But I could see how that would happen.
Yeah, man.
Okay. And so one last thing. We have not mentioned this on our podcast before, but shout out to, I guess, we'll concede and we'll call it like the official Ween podcast, God Ween Evan. I've messaged back and forth with Will from God Ween Evan a bunch of times. He's always been super nice, and they gave us a shout out on the one episode of their podcast. So thank you so much. You know, that means a lot to us. It really does. And Will has always been nice, and he was actually at this show as well. So let me read a little bit of writing that he sent me, and then we'll sort of wrap it up and talk about our, final thoughts. So Will writes, Will from the Godween Evan podcast here, and I was actually at the 420 Rutgers show, and I don't really remember any of it. I remember driving there from Long Island in my Saturn, and I had the Ladke sisters with me. They were both on the fence about liking Ween, but wouldn't turn down a free show. One sister was a year older than me, and the other a year younger than me, and I was secretly in love with both of them. I remember being stressed because I was 20 or so and driving through Manhattan to get there and using paper MapQuest directions. Then I had to impress these sisters and get them to like Ween. I recently reached out to the Ladke sisters to see what they remember, and Ruthie said she remembered the fake leg I used to keep in my car. Lisa ignored my messages, so that's all from Will from Godween Evan. Sorry I don't remember much more. Thank God it's on YouTube, and the re-experience is freaking impressive. Hella show. Thanks, guys. So thank you so much, Will. Official shout out to Godween Evan. I guarantee if you're listening to us, you've already known about them and heard them, but hey, shout out anyway.
Yeah, no, that's some good memories. And that reminds me of how, like, it's not just the show that is cool, it becomes an entire experience. Getting there, going, and all the different things that happen, and like,
yeah, man,
how everyone has a different story to tell.
I know, I love it,
and so that's cool.
So yeah, that was the 420 show. Amazing.
Yeah, dude, I feel like it's just a perfect confluence of a lot of different things. Like, they obviously put a lot of thought into that set list and really made sure that it stood out. It's a particular time in the history of Ween where the 5-piece band is really like humming on all cylinders, and they're about to put out a new album that they've been really working on and honing their craft together, and so all that's coming together. It's Earth Day, April 20th, and so that everyone's just in a great mood, and it's a positive atmosphere. It's a free show. I mean, dude, if I'm being real, at that stage of my life, if this wasn't a free show, I probably am not going. Like, I'm lucky I convinced people to go. Really, I mean, go halfway across the state and into New Jersey to go to a Ween show. At that time, would have been a tough pull, But it was free, man, and outdoors too. And outdoors. And outdoor shows, I mean, they're not always great, but there's something about them, and this one ended up. So all those things coming together, and it's just like, how can you do better than that? It's like everything that a man could desire.
It's almost like here's Ween as you might imagine them to be, sort of like flipping the script. You know what I mean? Like, okay, well, it's a free show. They'll probably only play for like 45 minutes or whatever. It won't be like a full-length show, or they'll just phone it in or whatever. You might think that about most bands, and there was probably a lot of bands who that's what they would do. They would do the absolute minimum. Okay, well, they haven't paid anything. I'm sure Ween still got paid, but like as a fan or just someone who's just going to that show, well, it's free, you don't really expect a whole lot. That kind of thing. What your expectations.
Yeah, the show could have been half the length, and that would have been a success.
Right, exactly. It's like they wouldn't have had to have played, not nearly as long as they did. But it's sort of like the opposite of like what your expectations might have been. And it's a fucking long show where the set list is everywhere. Some tunes that like would remain rare even up until now. We're talking about this 19 years later. You know what I mean? And just like you're saying, it's a culmination of everything. It was free, so you had no excuse not to be there. It was outdoors. Everyone had plenty of room. I love how the one dude wrote, it was cram-packed and yet open. It's like, it's so true. It's so true. You know, everyone had plenty of space because it was just out in the middle of the field. But yet, you know, hey, we're all together and we all are fucking digging it and having a good time. So we're all going to, you know, huddle together. And yeah, man. I mean, it's just, it's just a culmination. There's no better word to describe it. It's just a culmination of, you know, the band and where they were at the time and just how they fucking laid it down at that era in their career, you know?
Yeah, you have many staples that weren't staples yet, and so they're really played out. They're really played really well, and then you also have just quite a few pretty rare, pretty uncommon songs, you know. So it's just amazing, you know. It's you know, like we mentioned how the Voodoo Lady playing into Kiss is kind of like one of those like great sort of Ween live moments. Well, this show has several of those. You know, Sorry
right.
Charlie, Spring Theme.
Yeah.
You know, teasing. You know, sitting in the morning sun.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
like
And the mono tease.
Teasing mononucleosis. You know, it's like they're all, you know, Can't Put My Finger on It with the extended intro. They're just, everything is just done, you know, just to the nines, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
you know, there's also really not a bad thing you can say about the show. I don't really have much memory about how we got home. I wasn't driving. So I know my buddy Jesse was the one driving, and he just remembers just like booking out of there and going like 100 miles an hour the whole way home.
I kind of remember that a little bit too. I kind of remember that, and just kind of like him stopping at just like a couple of random, like, not like gas stations or anything, but just like a couple of like places where you could like pull off to the side of the highway like safely, and just like, all right, get out, take a piss, okay, get back in, you know, like.
Well, no, and that's what's funny is because it's not like nowadays there's like a Sheetz or like a Wawa on like every like exit, you know? Like,
Yeah.
And it totally wasn't that case 20 years ago, dude. It wasn't.
Yeah. I wish I knew, you know, who like had to like do something the next day and who didn't, because he must have, you know, had to thought that he had to get back, you know, in a decent amount of time, because I do sort of remember that, him just like, you know, flooring it and being like, oh shit, like he's not fucking around, you know. Like, I hope we don't get pulled
No,
over.
and I don't remember how long it takes, but including getting off the highway to drop you off, it's got to be 4 to 5 hours from Rutgers to State College.
Right.
4 hours maybe, something like that.
You guys made a nice long trek. I mean, that's for sure. But, you know, there again, hey, the show was free. So, and gas money back then, you know, you're probably talking, you know, 99 cents a gallon or $1 per gallon. You know what I mean? So couldn't have been that bad. You know, split between all you guys. Okay, everybody coughs up, you know, $5 or whatever. You know.
Oh,
so,
yeah, no, it was, yeah, dude. Well, we were men on a mission, and we had to go, and we made it happen. So yeah, dude. This is a show. Again, it's one that, you know, we have the recording of it. I have it on CD and on my iTunes, and it's totally one where if I'm, you know, like if I'm not sure, if I'm not gonna pick a specific album to play, then I usually play this show.
Yeah, it's
because
definitely,
it just has a little bit of everything.
It could definitely be a go-to show. Check it out on YouTube. There's, you know, there's some great renditions of it on YouTube. Great sound, you know, great video. Check it out. So yeah, I mean, we could probably talk about it all night, but we're gonna kind of wrap it up. Hit us up if you were at this show or anything you want to say. It's at WeenCast Podcast on Twitter, WeenCastPodcast at gmail.com. Join the Facebook page. There's actually 2 Facebook pages. There's one that, you know, you just like, the WeenCast page, like it. And there's the actual Facebook group. So join the group. It's an open Facebook group. And, you know, hit us up on iTunes, man. You know, write us a review. You know, it's fun, it's free. And we would really appreciate that. If anyone has gotten this far into this episode, thank you. Thank you so much for listening. And
well, this why it's a double episode.
Yeah, so
get the payoff, get a chance to really dive deeper. But thank you everyone for listening, and if it's many of the people who chimed in before the podcast said, oh, they couldn't really remember much of the show. Maybe after hearing us talk about the songs and playing some of the clips, and maybe you got on YouTube yourself and listened to the show again, maybe it jogged your memory. So if you got something else to say, just chime in. We always love to hear feedback and comments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other people's experiences. Because we're all just people on this earth. The earth is the earth.
Yeah, when the earth is earthbound,
on this systematic overdrive.
So, for our podcast, we have some different things planned for 2019. So you're gonna have to stick around and find out what they are. We might not necessarily go back to our, legacy shows, so to speak, right away. Not that there would be anything wrong with that, but maybe we have something else coming soon. So please stick around, and thank you so much.
You're
everyone.
so suspenseful. You're so suspenseful.
I'm not gonna blow any kind of surprises. I'm not gonna tell you, what's coming next. But
we were just before the podcast talking about Alfred Hitchcock and suspense,
Yeah.
So well done, sir.
We're gonna keep you coming back and hanging on for more. We're not just gonna tell you what's gonna be the next episode. So we have a couple things in mind and some tricks up our sleeve. So you're gonna have to tune in or listen in or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Sounds
hey.
good.
Thank you so much, anybody who's listening to this. Hit us up again on Twitter. It's WeenCastPodcast. So, it takes 2 seconds to, write a tweet. So hit us up. Drop a review on iTunes or on YouTube. Anything, man. We'd love to hear anything from anybody. All right? So, unless, Rory, you have something else?
I do not, man. Peace be with everyone, and until next time.
All right, everybody. Thank you again. Peace. We out.